はい、皆さん、こんにちは。ジョインジャパンのジョンです。今回の動画ではですね、日本語ピッチアクセントの基本的なルール、考え方などを皆さんに伝授していきたいと思っています。で、まずその前になぜ自分自身がアクセントを覚えようとしているのかっていうことについて少しシェアしていきたいと思います。で、その理由を一言で言えるんですけれども、それ何かっていうと、他者貢献なんですよ。他者への貢献のためにアクセントを覚えているっていうことですね。どういうことかっていうと、あなたが日本語の話者と喋っているときに、アクセントがおかしいと、相手がずっとあなたの言葉を解読しないといけないんですよ。いちいち解読しないといけない。時には本当にアクセントの変化で、アクセントの違いで、まるで違う意味になる場合もあるので、そういった時に相手が、こういうこと言いたいんだろう、ああいうこと言いたいんだろうって考えながら、解釈しながら、解読しながら、あなたの話を聞かなければならないわけなんですよ。ってことは、どっちが努力してるかっていうと、相手がすごく努力しないといけないんですよ。つまり、アクセントを覚えようとしないってことは、私は努力しないけど、相手は努力してくれるだろう。相手が努力してくれるだろうから、私は努力しなくていいんだという考え方なんですよ。だから本当に僕はそういう理由でアクセントを大事だと思ってるし、覚えようとしてるわけなんですよ。で、自分自身のアクセントの話少ししたいと思いますけれども、僕11年間ぐらい日本語やってるんですよね。11年間ぐらい。で、途中から9年目の時にアクセントがちょっと変だと気づいて、そこから覚え始めたんですね。で、どういうふうにしたかっていうと、本当にゼロから始めて、犬とか猫とか、もう本当に私とか家とか、基本的な単語をいちいち調べ直して、この単語はこのアクセントなんだ、この単語はこのアクセントなんだっていうことを、もう最初からやってきたんですよ。で、その中でもちろんいろんな基礎とか基本とかルールとか覚えてきて、本読んだり辞書を調べたりっていうのはやったんですけれども、本当にそういったところから、とにかく時間をかけて毎日毎日自分の言葉を見直すっていう作業を2年、3年ぐらいしてきたんですよね。それでやっと、今のアクセントになってるんですけれども、もちろん不完全ではあるんですけれども、前よりはかなり良くなってきた。ただ、ものすごく大変だったんですよ。もちろん、ものすごく大変だった。で、じゃあなんでこの講座をしてるかっていうと、皆さんがそんな思いをしなくて済むように、僕はここで教えようと思ってるんですよね。どういうことかっていうと、最初からアクセントをしっかりやると、その後の学習の中で、自然と、この言葉はこのアクセントなんだ、この言葉はこのアクセントなんだっていう、自然と自分の耳で分かるようになって、センスが身につくからなんですよ。アクセントのセンスが身について、そしてドラマを見てるとき、アニメを見てるとき、誰かと会話してるときに、自然とそのアクセント、そこのアクセントをピックアップして自分のものにしていくことができるんですよ。だから僕みたいに全部一旦覚えた上で、ゼロに戻ってゼロからやり直す必要が全くなくなるっていうことなんですよ。だから今日から今この動画でアクセントの基本を覚えて、そして次の動画でまたさらに基本を覚えて、この講座を最後まで見て、そしてその土台の上に自分のこれからの日本語を築き上げていってほしいなっていう思いでこの動画を出しています。ということでですね、皆さんぜひとも最初から最後まで丁寧に聞いてメモを書きながらアクセントの基本を覚えていただけたら幸いだなと思います。できるだけ多くの外国人が本当に素晴らしいピッチアクセントで日本語が話せるようになることを願って協力しますので、質問とかを全部よこしてくださいということでですね、皆さん、早速内容に入っていきたいと思います。Alrighty guys, let's get started with lesson 1. I do need to specify before we begin here that we're going to be dealing with the Tokyo dialect accent. There are a lot of different dialects in Japan, but the Tokyo dialect is the most common one, so I think that this is a great place to start. Okay, we're going to start here talking about phrase accent rather than word accent, because this is going to apply to all of the words we encounter in this lesson. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and read this rule here. This is very, very important. Okay, so rule 1, phrases in the Tokyo dialect start low and ascend in pitch after the first syllable. Okay, so let's look at some examples of that. Okay, so first we have watashi wa. Okay, so let's try this together. Watashi wa. Okay, please repeat. Watashi wa. Okay, so it starts low and it goes high. Okay, Watashi wa, this is just I, as you probably know. Okay, next word, 勉強が. Okay, this is study, right? 勉強が starts low, goes high. Let's try that together. 勉強が. Okay. Next we have 仕方が. Now, I chose this one because the first syllable here is not voiced. Okay, you don't actually hear the vowel sound here. So you're not going to actually hear it go up in pitch because there's obviously no pitch at the beginning here. But you can think of it as still falling under the same principle. Okay, so 仕方が, and this is like method or something like that. Okay, so these are examples of how this phrase rule works. Now, I want you to see that even if you take these words individually, even if they're not in a phrase, if you pronounce them individually, they're still going to have this feature, okay, because this rule still applies to them. Okay, so let's go ahead and say this again. 私, okay, 私, right? 勉強, 勉強, 仕方, 仕方. Okay, so these start low and go high, but I want you to know here that it's not because of something inherent to the words themselves, it's because of this rule that we looked at here. And you'll see why this is important in just a second here, okay? So moving on. Next we have word accent, all right? And there are two broad accent types for individual words in the Tokyo dialect. Okay, we have flat pitch words and falling pitch words. Okay, so the words that we just looked at are actually flat pitch words. Okay, so let's look at those one more time. 私, 勉強, 仕方. Okay, and remember, as we just learned, because of the phrase accent rule, these do go up at the beginning. Now, when you put them in a phrase, however, you're going to hear that they're just flat across the board. Okay, so let's go ahead and hear the phrase here. Okay, ready? 私の勉強の仕方は. 私の勉強の仕方は. Okay, so 私の勉強の仕方は. Okay, so you do go up after the first syllable, but then these words themselves are going to be flat. And you might have noticed a little pitch difference from the beginning and end. So there is some degree of moving up and down when you make a sentence. But when we compare it to other accent types, you'll see how drastically they fall. And that'll help you kind of realize the difference between flat pitch and falling pitch. So let's look at some other examples here of flat pitch accent words that are common. Okay, so 水が. Okay, 水が starts low, goes high, right? 水が. Okay, this is water. 会社が company. 大学が university. 中国語が Chinese. 見物人が sightseer. Okay, so these are all flat pitch accent words. And let's just go ahead and put these in phrases for some practice here. Okay, we're just going to add kono to each of these. This, right? So, この水が this water. And once again, this phrase is going to go up in pitch accent after the first syllable, but the word here is just going to stay flat because it's no longer at the beginning of the phrase. Okay, so この水が, yeah? この会社が, この大学が, この中国語が, この見物人が. Okay, so this is how this sounds in phrases. Okay, just a quick announcement. I'm currently offering private online Japanese lessons at a very reasonable price. If any of you guys are interested, please follow the link on my profile to my Calendly, where you can sign up for a 40-minute free consultation where I'll get to know you, I'll ask about your goals, etc., and you can get a sense of how I do classes. There's no commitment required or expected after the consultation, so feel free to just drop by and chat if you want to. I hope to see a lot of you guys there. Okay, back to the video. Let's look at the second general type here. Okay, so we have falling pitch accent. And falling pitch accent has three different subcategories, and we're going to look at each of those in order here. Okay, so we'll start with the middle high pitch accent subcategory. Here we have several examples. Okay, so let's read these. Yukiguni. Okay, yukiguni. All right, so because of the phrase accent rule that we looked at the beginning of this lesson, this goes up after the first syllable, but then, as you can see, it falls back down in the middle of the word, hence the name middle high pitch. Okay, one more time. Yukiguni, which is just like snow country, snowy country. Next we have saijiki. Okay, saijiki. This is like a compendium of seasonal terms for haiku poets. You'll probably never have to use this one unless you're into that sort of thing. And once again, you see that it goes up at the beginning after the first syllable and comes back down in the middle. Okay, so it's middle high pitch. 歳時期歳時期 Okay. Next we have 小型バス小型バス Okay, this is like a small bus, mini bus. Okay, and once again, goes up after the first syllable because of the phrase accent rule, but comes back down in the middle of the word. 小型バス Okay. All right, so these words all fall into the middle high pitch accent category as their accent drops somewhere in the middle of each word. That's the best way of thinking of this. But as you can see, it drops in different locations. It drops here after the second syllable, here after the third, and here after the fourth. And so it's going to be different from word to word. That's just something you're going to have to learn as you go along. Okay, so moving on to the next subcategory of falling pitch accent. Okay, we have initial high pitch accent. Okay. Now, here we're going to find an exception to the phrase rule that we looked at before. Okay, so let's look at these words first. Okay, we have aki, which is the fall, autumn. As you can hear, it starts high, a, and then comes down low. Ki, aki, aki, fall. Okay. Denki, electricity. Once again, starts high, de, comes down, denki. Okay. And last we have bungaku, okay, literature. Bungaku, okay, starts high, comes low. Bungaku. Okay. So these words descend rather than ascend in pitch after the first syllable, and thereby fall into the initial high pitch accent category. Okay, so let's compare these when they come at the beginning of a phrase. Okay, so we have here umi ga. Okay, this is the ocean. Umi ga. You might say umi ga kirei. You know, the ocean is beautiful, something like that. And here we have 勉強が難しい. This studying is difficult or whatever. Okay, so in the first one, right, this is at the beginning of a phrase, and so that's going to override the phrase rule that we looked at the beginning. Okay, so here we have the phrase accent rule number 2. It's very simple. Phrases that start with a word with initial high pitch accent start high and go down rather than up after the first syllable. Okay, 海が勉強が. Okay, remember this one is flat pitch here. Okay, so that's the second rule. Let's look at the third type of falling pitch accent, the third and final type. Okay, so this is final high pitch accent. This is the least common accent type in Japanese, and it's also the trickiest one. Okay, and the issue with this is that if you don't have a particle after the word, you're actually not going to be able to hear what accent type the word has. Okay, and the reason is because the drop in accent happens after the word itself. Okay, so let's take a look at this first phrase here. So, 花が, okay? Hana is flower, and if you just hear hana, it sounds like it's going to be a flat pitch accent word, but you add the particle ga, and you hear the drop after hana. Okay, so hanaga. Okay? Next we have otoko. Now this word, once again, sounds flat too, right? Otoko. Right? But when we add a particle ga, it goes down after the word itself. Otoko ga. Okay? Last one, by the way, this is man. Last one, ototo ga. Okay? Little brother. Ototo ga. Once again, if you don't have the ga here, you're not going to be able to hear that this is final high pitch. It's going to sound flat pitch, but when you add the particle, it reveals itself to be final high pitch. Okay? So like I said, this is the least common accent type in Japanese. You don't have to worry about it too much, but a lot of common words do fall into this category, so it's good to focus on these words when you're first starting out and really learn the accent well, and then you won't have to worry too much about that later. Okay? Alrighty, so let's go and review the 4 Tokyo dialect accent types that we learned about in this lesson. Okay, so first we have flat pitch. Okay, let's do these together. Mizu. And remember, we're going up at the beginning because of the first phrase accent rule. Okay, next we have 会社, company. Okay, 大学, okay, university. 中国語, okay, Chinese, etc. Then we have initial high pitch, and these are the ones that are going to override the first phrase accent rule. Okay, let's look at these. Aki, okay, fall. Denki, electricity. Bungaku, literature. Shabetto, sherbet, okay, etc. Okay, then we have middle high pitch accent words, and Remember that the third and fourth category do fall under the phrase accent rule, so they are going to go up after the first syllable. Okay, so お菓子, お菓子. Okay, sweets. 雪国, 雪国, snowy country. 歳時記, 歳時記. Compendium of poetic terms for poets. 山登り, 山登り. Okay, mountain climbing, etc. Okay, middle high pitch accent. And then finally we have the final high pitch accent category. Okay, so 花が, 花が, 男が, 男が, 妹が, 妹が, 11月が, 11月が. I forgot to say the meanings. Yeah, this is little sister, and this one here is November. Alrighty, so those are the 4 Tokyo dialect accent types for nouns, guys. That's it. That's all you have to worry about, okay? So, let's review the rules that we looked at. Okay, so phrases in the Tokyo dialect start low and ascended pitch after the first syllable. Okay, that's true of flat pitch, middle high pitch, and final high pitch accent words. But we have a rule that overthrows that. Phrases that start with a word with initial high pitch accent, okay, the second type here, aki, denki, etc., start high and go down rather than up after the first syllable. Okay, so these are the 2 phrase accent rules that I want you guys to take away from this lesson. Okay, now let's go ahead and look at how to learn accent on your own. Okay, so you have the basics here, and there will be other lessons on the way, of course. There are a lot more things to learn about accent, but I do want you to start learning accent on your own as much as you can. Okay, so let's look at some guidelines for doing that. So first of all, just try to be aware of what accent category each new word you encounter falls into. Just make a guess. Okay, you hear a new word, just make a guess about which category it falls into. And then what you can do is check an accent dictionary from time to time to see if you're right about that. Okay, and I'm going to put a link in the description to a free online accent dictionary that you can use for that. Okay, so just from time to time, you don't have to do this for every word. You can if you want, obviously, but it's okay to just do this now and then to check and see if your ears are right or not. Okay. And then I do encourage you to practice saying the words you check several times with the correct accent. If you can find a good dictionary with audio, that's great. The one I'm going to post a link to has audio for some words, but not all, unfortunately. But you can find some paid dictionaries online, I believe, that have good accent that you can practice with. So I do encourage you to find one of those if you can. And last, but certainly not least, this is actually the most important guideline here. Focus on learning by ear and in context, okay? So you can look at accent charts all day long, but the best way to pick up accent, the most natural way to pick it up is by ear, okay? So it's good for you to know these rules, of course, but what you want to do is you want to go in and watch anime, watch drama, have conversations with native speakers, whatever, listen to music, whatever, and try to just see if you can pick up, be aware of the accent of each word that you hear. And I think knowing the rules that we talked about today will help you do that, okay? So please do that and please enjoy doing that. Okay, that is it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like it if you enjoyed the video, if you got something out of it. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and you'll get a lot more great content in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.